Hi everyone. Today, inshallah, we will start with revising topic 2. Okay, in topic 2, we have to remember many things we explain on it. The first thing we have to remember is that we have different errors types or types of errors in programming. Okay, what are the types of errors? We have 3 types, which is syntax error and logic error and runtime error. In syntax error, well, for example, when you use incorrect syntax for the programming language, يعني, for example, in Python, which we are already using it, if you will use a for loop at the end of the same line, you have to use colon. So if you didn't use it, this is a syntax error. Syntax error will not allow you to run your program. You have to fix syntax error before running. So when you write the code, if you have any syntax error, you have to check the errors and then run as a program so it will work and you can run your program. In logic error, your program can run, but it gives you wrong output or unexpected output. Like, for example, if I want to calculate area of square, I use area equal side plus side instead of using area equal side times side. Okay, so this is the logic error. You can run your program, your compiler or interpreter will not find that you have any problem. It will run, but when you will give the answer or try to test your program, it will give you wrong output. In runtime error, which is cause crashing for computer. For example, if you use or calculate or create a program look like a calculator and you use a division, okay? And when you use division, you divide two numbers, for example, number 1 divided by number 2, okay? And this you will add it on variable is called dev. So if number 2 is 0, this will cause crash during execution, okay? So in code, it's not wrong because if you want to divide two numbers, you will reuse the first number divided by second number. So it is correct, but it may cause crash during execution if someone input the second number 0. Okay, so we have different types of errors which we can find in programming. If you remember in the last session, we mentioned the program cycle and we mentioned that the first stage is analysis, then design, then code, and then test. What is the test way which we have in our syllabus? We have different ways of testing, like black box, white box, and many types of testing. But in your syllabus, you have only trace table. And trace table, it is a manual test. You will test your code manually. You will check the flowchart or pseudocode step by step, and you will check if the input will be, for example, 4, what will be the output. So this is a type of test. We call it as a manual test, and you can use a trace table to check the output according to specific inputs. Okay, so this table is used to track variables, values, at each step of program. Yani for example, if this is my program or my flow chart, I will input S and I will calculate area S times S and I will output area. So this is the program. In trace table, you will try your program using many values. So I will tell you to test it using 4, using 3, using 2 as an input. So the first one, you will check what is the variables which we have. We have side and we have area, okay? And we have the output, okay? So what is the side? You will input or you will test your program using the first value. What is the first value? It is 4. So you will input S4, A equal S times S or 4 times 4. So A equal now 16. And then output A. So you will output 16. The second value, it is 3. So you will input S, which is 3. A equal S times S. So A equal 9. And output A. So you will output 9 and so on. So this way we call it as trace table. You will track the variable values at each step of program. You will check after the first step, you will check input S. So S is 4, you will add it in your table. You will calculate at each step the value of variables and you will add it on the table. Okay, so this way it is a way of testing which we call it as trace table. But if I have a problem or I have an error in my program, yeah, let's for example add an error in this code, which is we want to calculate area of square. Okay, and let's also change this output to be different. Output area equal and then A. Okay, so let's trace this program. At first, you will input S. What is the value of S? It is 4. I will change this or make it a plus to try to trace and check that we have an error. So let's try it now. Now I will input S, so S is 4, the first input, and then area equal S plus S, so S plus S, which is 8. Okay, and then output area, so you will find that area equal the value of variable A, which is 8. Okay, so this is the output. Of course, when you will use test, you can find that it is not correct. What is the expected output if the input of side is 4? The expected output must be 16. So this is a way of testing, which we call it as trace table. You will track the value of variables and it will check if it will give you the expected output or no. Okay, so as you can see on my screen, when I input 4, the output was 8 because I use 4 plus 4. So it is not the expected output. So I will check my code and I will find that this is the error which I do it, or this is the logic error which I do it. So now I can edit the code or the flow chart and I can trace my program again. So input S, it is 4. I will add 4 on S. Area equal S times S. So S times S x 16. Output area equal 16. So I will output area equal 16. The next input, which you will trace it, 3. Area equals side times side. So 3 times 3, which is 9. And now area equal 9 and so on. We can try it by 2. Okay, so this is a way of testing which we call it as trace table. In trace table you will track variable values at each step of your program. Okay, also we talk about different type of testing. We have normal, abnormal, extreme. We mentioned before that normal, it is the acceptable range, or which is within range. Abnormal, unacceptable, it's not valid for me, which is outside the range. And extreme, it is the limits. So for example, if I have score, it is out of 100, okay, and if you got more than 50, you will pass. If you will get less than 50, you will fail. And the lowest value, it is 0. So what is the normal values? The normal values which is within range. So if you got 0, it is acceptable. Maybe you didn't answer anything in your exam correct. 50, it is acceptable. 100, it's okay. 90, it's okay. 70, it is okay. All of these value within range, acceptable. Abnormal, it is not acceptable. Can you get in an exam -1? No. Can you get more 101? Of course, no. So we have a specific range which is acceptable. And outside this range, it is not acceptable. Okay. So less than 0, it's not acceptable. More than 100, it's not acceptable. Extreme, it is the limit, the least value I will accept, or the highest value I will accept, which is 0 and 100. This is the least value I will accept, and this is the highest value I will accept. When you will test your program, you have to use the values which will be normal, abnormal, extreme, to show that if your program working correctly or no. Yani, for example, if I have or I expect that if you have less than 50, you will pass. Starting from 50 and more than 50, less than 50, you will fail. Starting from 50, if you got 50 out of 100 or more than 50, you will pass. So what is the testing value which you will use, or you can use it to check your program? I will use 0. This is the least value I can accept. I will check -1. It must tell me that this score is not acceptable. I will check 49 and check if the expected output it is fail. It will give you fail or no. I will check 50 because this is the limit, and this also will be pass. So this must be the acceptable. The output will be fail. The output must be pass. 100 must be pass. 101 not acceptable or not valid. So you have to check. Okay, the output will give you the expected output or no. This you are doing it during testing. So testing, you will input data and you have to know what is the expected output, and you will check if your program work correctly or no. If it gives you the expected output, so this is an awesome program and it is working and no problem on it. If it gives you incorrect output, so you have a logic error, you have to check the code and know where is the mistake which you did in your program. Okay. Type. Also in topic 2, you have to remember that we have a variable and we have a constant. And we mentioned before that the variable will change during running the program, but constant will not change. It has a fixed value during running the program. You have to know or remember that every program have a specific sequence. You cannot change the sequence of your instructions. You have to remember that we use selection. And we mentioned before that we have different type of selection like F or LF. If we have more than one condition, okay? And at the end, we will use else. We have iteration. which is like for or while. We have a data structure, which we mentioned before. We have array. It's array, it is the only data structure. No, we have different data structure like record, but it's not in your syllabus. We use only array in your syllabus, but we have different data structure. In array, all of it has the same data type. In record, we have different data type, which is, it is look like two-dimension array. Okay, so array, we have one dimension and we have two dimension and we have records, okay, as a data structure. Also, we have function and subroutine. Let's remember what is a function and what is the procedure. We have two different sub-programs or subroutines. If you remember in the last session, when we talk about if you have a big problem, you will break it down into smaller problems can be easily solved. So maybe the program has sub-programs, or we can do it as a function or procedure. So maybe I have a big problem. So I will break it down into smaller problems and I will create a function for each one. Yeah, for example, if I want to calculate area of shapes, I will create a function for square. I will create a function for circle. I will create a function for rectangle, and I will create a function for triangle. So we can use the subsystem or subprograms, and we can write the set of code in function or procedure. Let's remember the difference between function and procedure. Function will return value. Procedure doesn't return value. Right. If I want to write a function, calculate area of square. So let's try to do it. We will write the function as a pseudocode. This is pseudocode. Function, and then the name of the function, like for example, area of square. And then I will mention the parameters. What is the parameters? The given things which you will give it to your function. Yani, for example, let's use a side and it is integer. Okay, but let's write the data type in capital letters. As in pseudocode, we have to write the keywords in capital letters. And then you will mention what it will be return. It will return integer. Okay, so we can find that this is, we call it as function header. And thus we call it as the name of function. And this we call it as a parameter. And this is the data type of return value. So this is the function header type. Inside the function, if we will use a variable, you have to declare it. Yeah, for example, if I will use a variable which is called area, so I have to declare it. I will declare area and the data type of it is integer. And then I can use area, which is equal side times side, and we can return area. The function is AND, so you can use AND function. So as you can see on my screen, this is the function header, okay, which is function and contains the name of function and then the parameter given to the function, and the data type of the return value. What is the data type of return value? This is the return value area, and as you can see, the data type of it is integer. Okay, inside the function, you may declare a variable. This variable will be called as local variable. And if you remember, we mentioned before that local variable, it is defined inside or declared inside function. So no one outside function know anything about it. Okay, so this is, we call it as local variable. Local variable declared inside the function and no one know it outside the function. It is known only inside the function. Okay, procedure, it will be the same, but we have only difference that there is no return value. Yani if I want to calculate procedure, calculate area of circle, area of square, so I will write procedure and then name of procedure, area of square, and the parameter, which is side, and the data type of it. This is the procedure header. So there's no return value. It doesn't return value. And then let's declare the area. And it is the same, it is local variable because no one knows anything about it outside this function or this procedure. Now let's calculate area equals side times side. And now we will output the area. You will print the value of area. So end procedure. So in procedure, you are doing everything. Nothing will be returned. Okay, but in function, it will return for you area, and it's up to you. If you want to output it, if you want to use it in anything, you can do what you want. So function will return value. Procedure will not return value. Okay, so we have, or we remembered, a local variable which is declared inside function. And of course, we have global value which is accepted or understood by any part of your program because it's not declared inside the function. Okay, so we can mention the difference between local variable and global variable. Local variable used inside function only. No one outside function know anything about it. But global value can be accessed anywhere in the program. Okay, this is the difference between local variable and global variable. So you can see that A, which is we declare it inside the function, this we call it as local variable because I can use it only inside the function. Outside function, I cannot use it. It's not declared outside. But global, it is declared outside function, so it can be used anywhere. You can use it inside or outside function. Okay, but the local can be used inside function only. Now let's talk about file handling. File handling, which we can use it to read the data or write data in file. Okay, so if I have a file, for example, which is called data, for example, .txt. If I want to open this file for write, or if I want to open this file to read data from it, I will tell you how you can do it using pseudocode or using Python. Using pseudocode, you will use or you write open file, and then you will mention the name of file. And then why you want to open it, for read or for write. If you will write on it, like my file that now it is empty, so I will write for write. And then you will mention write file, and you will mention the name of the file, data.txt, and what you want to write on it. Yeah, for example, hi CS students. So now you can find, after I will write this line, hi CS students will be written in the file. Hi CS students. So now I open it for write, and then I will write in the file. I will mention write file and the name of the file and the data which I want to write on it. After you will write, you have to close the file. So you will mention close file, and what is the file name? Data.txt. Okay, so this is using pseudocode. Type. If I want to use it or do it in Python, how I can do it? You will write file equal open and mention the name of the file, data.txt. And if you want to write, you will write between double quotation W. And then what do you want to write on it? So you will write file dot write and the message which you want to write on it. Hi CS students. And don't forget to close the file. File dot close. So this is how you can handle your files using pseudocode and using Python. Type this if I want to write. Type I want to read. I have a file already. There is a data on this file and I want to read data from file. How I can read data? This is our file, which is called data.txt. If I want to read from the file using pseudocode, I will mention that open file and mention the file name, which is data.txt for read. I want to read now from the file. I have a message already written. Hi, CS students. Already written on the file, and I want to read it. So I will open file for read, and then I will add it on any variable, مثلا, for example, str for string equal, or let's make it str text, and then equal, and you will read file and the name of the file, data.txt. Okay, and then close file, and then mention the name of the file, data.txt. Also, you can write it as like this. Read file and the name of the file and the variable which you want to store the data on it, str text. Okay, so the data on this file will be stored on this variable. This is using pseudocode. If I want to write it in Python, if I want to read data from file in Python, I will mention that file equal open data.txt and then data equal file dot read, and then file dot close. Don't forget to close the file after you read or finish reading or writing from your file. Okay? As we mentioned before, when you will use sub-programs or subsystems, this will be easier for you for your program. And the last thing we will mention today to revise this topic, what is the difference between validation and verification? In validation, you will check that data is valid or which meet specific criteria. If it does not meet this criteria, it will not be valid. Maybe the validation rule, it is length, data with a specific length, like phone number. This is my phone number, and all of the phone numbers in Egypt, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It consists of 11 digits. So you cannot enter your phone number 10 digits. You cannot input your phone number 12 digits, okay? It's not valid. So as you can see, we have a specific length which will be valid. So we must have a specific criteria. And if you meet this criteria, your data will be valid. So maybe validation is length. Maybe the validation is range, like score. We mentioned that we have valid score, more than or equal 0 and less than or equal 100. Okay, so this is the valid range. Sometimes the valid is data type. For example, if I ask you to enter your score to check that if you fail or pass, you cannot input your score 20 like that. It is not valid data type. You must input your score 20 like that. So I can check that it is less than 50. So I will show you that you are fail. Okay, so we have sometimes a valid data type. I will not accept any other data type. Sometimes the validation format, like in date, we can find that some of people write the date DMY, days and months then year. And for example, today it is 6 December 2025. But for example, if you check my computer, you can find that we have month and then day and then year. Okay, so you have to check what is the format of date, because sometimes you will input the date and you will have an error because, for example, my computer knows that the first number, it is the month, not the day. So if today was 26, not 6, it will not accept when there is no month 26. So you have to find what is the format which will be valid, not to have an error because you didn't choose a valid format for your program. Okay, verification, you will check that data entered correctly or copied correctly. And we can do it using two ways. The first way, it is visual check. The second way, it is double data entry. And for example, when you want to input a verification code you use or you want to shop online, so it will send you OTP or verification code on your mobile phone. In verification code, which you will receive it on your mobile phone, you will input it 1 times. Okay, you will input it 1 times and you will check it visually. You will look at your mobile phone screen and you will input the OTP. In double data entry, you will input the data twice. like when you create an account and it will ask you to enter password, and again, re-enter password. This is a verification way. You will double data entry, you will enter the data twice, but in this time, your computer will check. In visual check, you will check the error visually, but in double data entry, your computer will compare the two sets of data and make the check, but you will need to enter the data twice. Okay, so this is topic 2. We revise all of the topics which we have in topic 2.